Man, I've had a lot of conversations with people from different backgrounds, scientists, monks, athletes, entrepreneurs, even people who've gone on crazy psychedelic journeys. And the one thing everyone keeps circling back to is this: human beings are searching for peace. Like, we're wired for it. We want meaning, calm, some sort of balance between the chaos of life and that stillness that makes us feel alive. Now, here's the thing: Islam has this practice called namaz, or the 5 daily prayers. And when you really look into it, it's one of the most sophisticated, practical, and effective systems for finding inner peace that humanity has ever created. I'm not exaggerating, it's genius. Life without stillness. Think about our daily lives for a second. We're constantly rushed. Wake up, check the phone, drink coffee, scroll social media, run to work, answer emails, deal with traffic, argue with people online, stress about bills. From the moment we open our eyes to the moment we crash into bed, our brains are on fire with stimulation. We've created this modern existence where silence almost doesn't exist anymore. You ever notice how uncomfortable people get when it's quiet? They immediately grab their phones. They need background noise. They need distraction. And here's the problem: a mind that's constantly overstimulated never finds rest. It's always spinning. That's why anxiety and depression are off the charts in the modern world. People aren't wired for nonstop chaos. But now imagine being forced to pause 5 times a day. Imagine being required by your faith to drop everything, whether you're working, arguing, making money, whatever, and just stop, to breathe, to focus, to connect with God. That's namaz. Namaz as a built-in reset. Look at namaz as this beautiful reset button for your soul. You wake up in the morning, before the chaos of the day begins, you pray. Midday, when work is stressing you out, you pray. Afternoon slump, boom, you pray. Sunset, when your energy is drained, you pray again. And before you go to bed, you pray one last time. That's 5 moments of intentional peace. And not just once in a while, but every single day of your life. You stack that discipline over years, decades. It rewires who you are. The science of stillness. Here's the wild part: science actually backs this up. Studies show that regular prayer and meditation lower cortisol, the stress hormone. They balance your heart rate, improve blood pressure, and even change the brain's structure over time. And namaz isn't just sitting quietly, it's a whole body ritual. Standing, bowing, prostrating, sitting. It's movement, and movement activates different parts of your nervous system. When you bow, your body naturally calms. When you prostrate, forehead on the ground, you're activating deep humility physically and psychologically. Blood flows differently, stress releases. It's like yoga, meditation, and therapy all wrapped into one, but with a spiritual core that gives it way more depth. Ego and humility. You know what's crazy? Most of our problems, jealousy, anger, insecurity, arrogance, come from ego. We think we're the center of the universe. We think our problems are the biggest problems. But namaz crushes ego. When you put your forehead on the ground, you're saying, I am nothing before God. That's powerful. Because if you do that 5 times a day, every day, your ego doesn't get to run wild. You train humility into your very being. And humility, that's the secret to peace. Because if you're humble, you don't need to compare yourself. You don't need to prove yourself. You're not chasing status, likes, or attention. You're at peace with where you are. Discipline, freedom. One of my favorite things I've learned from Navy SEALs, fighters, and high performers is this idea that discipline equals freedom. People think freedom means doing whatever you want, but that's not freedom, that's chaos. Real freedom is mastering yourself. And namaz is discipline in its purest form. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, a CEO, a janitor, you pray at the same times. No excuses, no I'm too busy. It forces you to step outside your selfishness and obey a higher order. And what happens when you do that consistently? You become free. Free from stress. Free from ego. Free from the illusion that you control everything. Community and belonging. Now let's talk about something else, the social side of namaz. When Muslims gather in mosques, shoulder to shoulder, all facing the same direction, that's unity. No VIP seats, no hierarchy. The king and the beggar stand side by side. In a world where loneliness is an epidemic, where people feel disconnected and isolated, Namaz creates belonging. It reminds you, you are not alone. You are part of a community. You are part of something bigger than yourself. That's not just religion. That's medicine for the soul. Perspective shift. One of the things I've noticed is that when people pray, they put their problems into perspective. You can't stand before God and still think your overdue credit card bill is the end of the world. You can't bow down and still believe your boss's opinion of you defines your worth. Prayer gives you scale. It reminds you this world is temporary. Your problems are temporary. Your struggles are temporary. That's where peace comes from. Not from solving every problem, but from realizing that problems are tiny compared to God. Not just ritual. A lot of outsiders think namaz is just a ritual, like some robotic routine. But when you really dig into it, it's training. It's like how fighters drill the same moves over and over. To an outsider, it looks repetitive, but to the fighter, that repetition builds mastery. Namaz is the same. It's mastery of the soul. Every bow, every prostration is training your heart to stay humble, your mind to stay focused, and your soul to stay at peace. So here's where it gets even more interesting. In part 1, I laid out the foundation of why namaz is so powerful, the structure, the humility, the reset, the community. But now I want to go deep. I want to compare namaz to other practices people use for peace, talk about how it transforms lives, and even look at what it means in the bigger picture of being human. Namaz versus meditation and yoga. People in the West love meditation and yoga. You've got apps like Headspace, Calm, and thousands of yoga studios popping up everywhere. And don't get me wrong, these practices are amazing. They calm the mind, reduce stress, bring focus. But here's the difference. Meditation is usually optional. You can skip it. Yoga, same thing. It's something you fit into your schedule if you have time. Namaz, that's non-negotiable. 5 times a day, every day, for life. That discipline creates a level of consistency you just don't see in Western practices. And because it's tied to something bigger than yourself, obedience to God, it carries a spiritual weight that meditation apps just can't replicate. It's not just mindfulness, it's devotion. And let's talk about yoga. When you look at the physical positions in namaz, standing, bowing, prostrating, they're incredibly similar to yoga postures. The difference is that namaz isn't about flexibility or exercise. It's about humility and worship. But the side benefit, you're stretching, moving, breathing with intention 5 times a day, that keeps your body aligned and your mind calm. Namaz and martial arts discipline. This one always blows my mind. You guys know how much I love martial arts. Jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, those aren't just sports, they're philosophies. They teach you discipline, humility, and focus. Namaz is the martial art of the soul. Just like fighters drill moves daily, Muslims drill peace into their hearts daily. And just like in martial arts, repetition isn't boring, it's mastery. Every bow, every prostration, every verse recited, it's sharpening your spirit. And here's the crazy part. In martial arts, you face opponents. In namaz, your only opponent is your ego. And beating your ego, that's the ultimate victory. Stories of transformation. I've met people on the podcast and outside of it who said namaz changed their lives. Guys who used to live in chaos, addictions, anger, depression, but when they started praying regularly, they found peace they never thought was possible. One guy told me, "Joe, I used to explode in anger at everything. But once I started praying, I couldn't hold on to that anger anymore." How can you stand before God with hate in your heart? That hit me because it's true. Prayer forces you to drop the baggage. Another woman said, "Prayer saved me from despair. Every time I thought I couldn't go on, I remembered God is listening. And when I put my forehead on the ground, I felt like I was putting down all my pain." That's not just ritual, that's healing. The psychology of repetition. Psychologists talk about habit loops. Whatever you repeat becomes part of your identity. If you scroll Instagram every hour, that becomes who you are, distracted, anxious. If you hit the gym daily, you become fit, discipline. Now imagine what happens when you pray 5 times a day. That repetition doesn't just create a habit, it creates a lifestyle. You become someone who lives in awareness of God, someone who finds peace not by accident, but by design. That's powerful psychology. It's like hacking your brain for peace, gratitude, and perspective. One thing I love about Namaz is how it's filled with gratitude. Muslims recite praises of God, acknowledge His mercy, and ask for guidance. That constant reminder creates a mindset of thankfulness and gratitude. Science shows this is one of the strongest predictors of happiness. People who practice gratitude daily are less stressed, less depressed, and more fulfilled. Namaz builds gratitude right into your day. It's like emotional armor facing mortality. Here's another deep angle. Namaz constantly reminds you of death. Muslims know that every prayer could be their last. That might sound heavy, but actually it's freeing, because when you accept death, you start to live fully. You stop wasting time on stop holding grudges. You stop obsessing over things that don't matter. Prayer gives you perspective. Life is short, so make it meaningful. I've had guests on the podcast who've had near-death experiences, and they all say the same thing: death makes life precious. Muslims live with that reminder every single day through namaz. Collective energy. Here's something wild. When thousands of people pray together, there's an energy in the room you can't explain. I've felt it. The synchronization, the unity. It's like the whole group breathes as one. Science calls it collective effervescence. That feeling of being part of something bigger than yourself. And that collective energy, it's healing. It wipes away loneliness. It strengthens community bonds. It makes people feel connected, not just to each other but to humanity as a whole. The long game of peace. Now let's think long term. A Muslim who prays 5 times a day for 60 years will have prayed over 100,000 times. That's 100,000 moments of peace, humility, and connection. Compare that to the average modern person who spends 100,000 hours scrolling or stressing. Who do you think ends up more peaceful? It's not even a contest. That's why when you meet older Muslims who've prayed their whole lives, they have this calm energy. They're not rattled by the small stuff. They've trained peace into their being for decades. Namaz, in the modern world, we live in a time of anxiety epidemics, loneliness crises, mental health struggles. Billions are searching for solutions, therapy, meditation, medication. And here's this ancient practice, 1400 years old, that's been quietly solving these problems for generations. Namaz is timeless. It worked in the deserts of Arabia, it worked in medieval cities, and it works in modern skyscrapers, because human nature hasn't changed. We still need peace, humility, and connection. Joe Rogan's closing thoughts. Look, I'm not Muslim. I've explored a lot of different paths, psychedelics, meditation, martial arts, but when I look at namaz, I see something profound. It's not just prayer, it's not just ritual. It's a system that brings order to chaos, peace to the restless, and connection to the disconnected. And the beauty is, it's not hidden. It's available to anyone willing to submit, to humble themselves, to step onto the prayer mat and surrender to God. At the end of the day, all of us are chasing the same thing: peace. Some find it in nature, some in meditation, some in art. But Muslims, they've got this built-in system that delivers peace 5 times a day, every day for life. And honestly, that's incredible. So yeah, when I say namaz brings inner peace, I'm not just saying it as a theory. I'm saying it because I've seen it, I've felt it, and the science backs it up. It's one of the most powerful tools human beings have to live with balance, humility, and tranquility in a world that's constantly trying to pull us apart.